Welcome to Wisdom Audiobooks.
Have you ever felt overwhelmed by saying yes to everything and wished you could confidently say no without guilt? If so, you're not alone. Many of us struggle with setting boundaries, often at the expense of our own well-being. This audiobook will guide you through mastering the art of saying no, empowering you to reclaim control over your time, energy, and life. Let's dive in. Introduction. The audiobook, The Art of Saying No, How to Say No with Confidence and Focus on Yourself, is written and published by Wisdom Audiobooks. In today's fast-paced world, many people find themselves stretched thin, constantly saying yes to others while neglecting their own needs. Whether it's agreeing to extra work tasks, attending social events out of obligation, or sacrificing personal time for family demands, the inability to set boundaries can lead to burnout, stress, and a loss of personal fulfillment. As a society, we often equate saying yes with being kind, helpful, or successful. But what happens when this habit begins to drain us emotionally, mentally, and physically? What happens when we lose sight of our own goals because we're too busy pleasing others? These are the questions we'll explore together in this audiobook. I understand how challenging it can be to prioritize yourself when everyone else seems to have demands on your time and energy. I've been there too, feeling guilty for saying no, fearing rejection or judgment, and worrying about damaging relationships. But here's the truth. Saying yes to everything doesn't make you stronger, it makes you exhausted. And worse, it robs you of the opportunity to live authentically and purposefully. This audiobook is designed to equip you with practical tools and strategies to confidently say no and set healthy boundaries. You'll learn how to identify your limits, communicate them effectively, and handle pushback with grace. Along the way, I'll share inspiring stories, actionable insights, and timeless wisdom from experts who have mastered this skill. By the end of this journey, you'll feel empowered to take charge of your life and create balance in ways you never thought possible. So, stay tuned until the very end. Each chapter builds upon the last, offering transformative lessons that will help you navigate even the most challenging situations. Remember, as Brené Brown once said, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Your wisdom journey starts here.
Chapter 1. Understanding the Power of Saying No. In this chapter, we'll explore why saying no is not just a skill but a necessity for personal growth and well-being. We'll delve into the psychological barriers that prevent us from setting boundaries and uncover the profound impact of always saying yes. By the end of this chapter, you'll understand why mastering the art of saying no is the first step toward reclaiming control over your life. Let's begin. 1. Why saying no matters. Saying no might seem like a simple act, but its implications are far-reaching. When we fail to say no, we often find ourselves overwhelmed, overcommit, and emotionally drained. Let me ask you this. Have you ever agreed to something, whether it was an extra work project, a social event, or a favor for a friend, and later regretted it? If so, you're experiencing what psychologists call boundary erosion. Boundary erosion happens when we repeatedly ignore our own needs in favor of others' demands. Over time, this leads to burnout, resentment, and even physical health issues. As Dr. Henry Cloud, author of Boundaries, When to Say Yes, How to Say No, wisely said, "The ability to set boundaries is the ability to protect your soul." Let's break this down further. Consequences of always saying yes. When we constantly say yes, we send a message, to ourselves and others, that our time and energy are expendable. This can result in burnout, feeling physically and emotionally exhausted because you've stretched yourself too thin. Resentment, building up frustration toward others, even though you were the one who agreed to their requests. Loss of personal fulfillment, sacrificing your goals, passions, and priorities for the sake of pleasing others. Think about it. Every time you say yes to something trivial, you're saying no to something meaningful. For instance, agreeing to stay late at work might mean missing out on quality time with your family. Attending a social event out of obligation could mean sacrificing precious hours of self-care. Benefits of setting boundaries. On the flip side, saying no opens the door to freedom, clarity, and purpose. Here's what happens when you start setting boundaries. Improved mental health. You reduce stress and anxiety by taking control of your commitments. Increased productivity. By focusing on what truly matters, you accomplish more in less time. Stronger relationships. Healthy boundaries foster mutual respect and understanding. Oprah Winfrey once shared, "You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You just have to follow your heart and do what feels right for you." This quote perfectly encapsulates the essence of saying no. It's about honoring your truth and creating space for what aligns with your values. Now let's move on to the next section, where we'll uncover the common barriers that hold us back from saying no. 2. Common barriers to saying no. If saying no is so beneficial, why do so many people struggle with it? The answer lies in the psychological and emotional barriers that cloud our judgment. Let's explore these obstacles in detail. Fear of rejection. One of the biggest fears people face when considering saying no is rejection. They worry that declining a request will make them appear selfish, unkind, or uncooperative. But here's the reality. Most people respect honesty more than they resent refusal. As Warren Buffett famously said, "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything." Consider this: every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to opportunities that do. It's not rejection, it's redirection. Guilt and obligation. Many of us feel guilty when we turn someone down, especially if it's someone close to us. We fear hurting their feelings or disappointing them. But guilt is often misplaced. As psychologist Dr. Judith Sills explains, guilt is the price you pay for being true to someone else's expectations instead of your own. To overcome this, remind yourself that your worth isn't determined by how much you give to others. True kindness comes from giving freely, not out of obligation. Cultural norms and societal expectations. In some cultures, saying no is seen as rude or disrespectful. Women, in particular, often face societal pressure to be accommodating and nurturing. But as Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, author of We Should All Be Feminists, puts it, "Culture does not make people. People make culture." By challenging outdated norms and embracing authenticity, you pave the way for healthier interactions, not just for yourself, but for future generations. Fear of conflict. Another barrier is the fear of confrontation. Some people avoid saying no because they dread awkward conversations or potential arguments. However, avoiding conflict only postpones the inevitable. Healthy boundaries require clear communication, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Remember, discomfort is temporary, but the benefits of setting boundaries are long-lasting. 3. A real-life story that inspires. Let me share a powerful story that illustrates the transformative power of saying no. Meet Sarah, a marketing executive who prided herself on being the go-to person at her company. She always volunteered for extra projects, stayed late to help colleagues, and rarely took time off. At first, she felt valued and indispensable. But over time, the constant pressure began to take its toll. She became irritable, exhausted, and disconnected from her loved ones. One day, during a particularly stressful week, Sarah reached her breaking point. She realized she hadn't spent quality time with her daughter in months. That night, she made a decision: she would start saying no to unnecessary commitments and prioritize her family. At first, it wasn't easy. Some colleagues questioned her dedication, and she felt guilty turning down requests. But as weeks turned into months, something remarkable happened. Her relationships improved, both at work and at home. She discovered new hobbies, regained her energy, and even earned a promotion because she was now focusing on high-impact tasks rather than spreading herself too thin. Sarah's story reminds us that saying no isn't just about protecting ourselves, it's about creating room for what truly matters. 4. Shifting your perspective on no. To fully embrace the power of saying no, you need to reframe how you think about it. Instead of viewing no as a negative word, see it as a positive affirmation of your priorities. Here's how to shift your mindset. From selfishness to self-care. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-care. When you honor your limits, you ensure you have the energy and resources to show up fully for the people and activities that matter most. From fear to freedom. Every no is an opportunity to say yes to something better. Whether it's pursuing a passion, investing in a relationship, or simply resting, saying no gives you the freedom to design your life intentionally. From guilt to gratitude. Instead of feeling guilty for declining a request, express gratitude for the opportunity to reflect on your priorities. For example, you might say, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I need to focus on my current commitments right now." As Steve Jobs famously stated, focusing is about saying no. Success isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right things. In this chapter, we've explored why saying no is essential for personal growth and well-being. We've uncovered the barriers that hold us back and reframed no as a tool for empowerment. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out, it's about inviting deeper connections and greater fulfillment into your life. As you move forward, keep this thought from author and Lamott in mind. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your peace and happiness. Chapter 2: Identifying your boundaries. In this chapter, we'll delve into the different types of boundaries: emotional, physical, time-based, and digital, and explore how they shape our lives. You'll also learn practical exercises to assess your current boundaries and recognize signs of boundary violations. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a clear understanding of where you're overextending yourself and how to create a personal boundary blueprint that aligns with your values. Let's get started. 1. Types of boundaries. Boundaries are like invisible fences that protect your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They define what is acceptable and what isn't in your interactions with others. To master the art of saying no, you first need to understand the various types of boundaries and their roles in your life. Emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries protect your feelings and mental health. They involve recognizing when someone is crossing the line by dumping their emotions on you, manipulating your feelings, or making unreasonable demands. For example, if a friend consistently vents to you without reciprocating support, they may be violating your emotional boundaries. As Dr. Brené Brown, renowned researcher and author, says, "Clear is kind. Unclear is unkind." Setting emotional boundaries means being clear about what you can handle emotionally and communicating those limits to others. Healthy versus unhealthy emotional boundaries. Healthy: politely excusing yourself from conversations that make you uncomfortable. Unhealthy: allowing others to guilt-trip you into feeling responsible for their happiness. Physical boundaries. Physical boundaries pertain to your personal space, body, and possessions. These boundaries ensure you feel safe and respected in your environment. For instance, if someone touches you without permission or borrows your belongings without asking, they're violating your physical boundaries. A powerful reminder comes from Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. When it comes to physical boundaries, knowing better means asserting your right to personal space and bodily autonomy. Healthy versus unhealthy physical boundaries. Healthy: declining hugs or handshakes if you're not comfortable. Unhealthy: ignoring discomfort and allowing others to invade your space repeatedly. Time-based boundaries. Time-based boundaries are about protecting your most valuable resource, your time. They help you prioritize tasks, set realistic expectations, and avoid overcommitting. For example, if you agree to attend every meeting at work, even those unrelated to your role, you're neglecting your time-based boundaries. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, once said, "Until we can manage time, we can manage nothing else." Setting time-based boundaries means learning to say no to activities that don't align with your goals. Healthy versus unhealthy time-based boundaries. Healthy: scheduling specific hours for work and leisure. Unhealthy: saying yes to every request, leaving no time for rest or self-care. Digital boundaries. In today's hyper-connected world, digital boundaries are more important than ever. They involve managing screen time, setting limits on social media use, and deciding who has access to your online presence. For instance, if you find yourself checking emails late at night or scrolling through social media during family time, your digital boundaries may need adjustment. Arianna Huffington, founder of the Huffington Post, emphasizes this point. We need to disconnect to reconnect. Establishing digital boundaries allows you to reclaim your focus and nurture real-life relationships. Healthy versus unhealthy digital boundaries. Healthy: turning off notifications after work hours. Unhealthy: being constantly available online, leading to burnout and distraction. 2. Assessing your current boundaries. Now that you understand the types of boundaries, let's take a closer look at your own. Are you setting healthy boundaries, or are you overextending yourself? Here are some reflective exercises to help you identify areas for improvement. Exercise 1. Reflect on overcommitments. Write down all the commitments you've made in the past month: work tasks, social events, favors for friends, etc. Ask yourself, which of these truly align with my priorities? Which ones left me feeling drained or resentful? This exercise will reveal patterns of overcommitment and highlight areas where you need stronger boundaries. Exercise 2. Recognize boundary violations. Think about recent situations where you felt disrespected, overwhelmed, or taken advantage of. What happened? How did you respond? Signs of boundary violations include feeling guilty for prioritizing yourself, experiencing persistent stress or anxiety, struggling to say no despite knowing something isn't right for you. Awareness is the first step toward change. By identifying these moments, you can begin addressing them proactively. Exercise 3. Map out your limits. Create a list of non-negotiables, things you absolutely won't compromise on. These could include not working weekends unless absolutely necessary, refusing to lend money to acquaintances, limiting screen time before bed. Having a clear map of your limits makes it easier to communicate them to others. 3. Creating a personal boundary blueprint. Once you've assessed your current boundaries, it's time to design a blueprint for success. A personal boundary blueprint serves as a guide for setting and maintaining healthy limits. Here's how to create one. Step 1. Define your priorities. Start by identifying what matters most to you. Is it spending quality time with loved ones? Advancing in your career? Pursuing a passion project? Your priorities will shape your boundaries. For inspiration, consider this quote from Stephen Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Step 2. Communicate clearly. Once you've defined your boundaries, communicate them assertively. Use I statements to express your needs without sounding accusatory. For example, instead of saying, "You always interrupt me," try, "I need uninterrupted time to focus on my work." Clear communication prevents misunderstandings and reinforces mutual respect. Step 3. Practice consistency. Consistency is crucial when establishing boundaries. If you occasionally let people cross your limits, they'll assume it's okay to do so again. Stick to your blueprint, even when it feels uncomfortable. As Tony Robbins famously said, "Stay committed to your decisions, but stay flexible in your approach." Adaptability doesn't mean compromising your boundaries, it means finding creative ways to uphold them. 4. A real-life story that inspires. Let me share another inspiring story that highlights the importance of identifying and enforcing boundaries. Meet James, a freelance graphic designer who struggled with overcommitment. He accepted every client request, worked late nights, and rarely took breaks. Initially, he believed this hustle was necessary to build his business. But soon, he found himself exhausted, uninspired, and unable to deliver his best work. One day, a mentor challenged him to reflect on his habits. Together, they created a boundary blueprint tailored to James's needs. It included only taking on projects that excited him creatively, setting strict deadlines for client revisions, taking one full day off each week to recharge. At first, James worried that turning down clients would hurt his income. But the opposite happened. His newfound focus attracted higher quality clients who valued his expertise, and his creativity soared. Most importantly, he regained balance and joy in his life. James's journey reminds us that boundaries aren't limitations, they're foundations for growth. Chapter 3: Building Confidence to Say No. In this chapter, we'll explore the mindset shifts and practical techniques that will empower you to say no with confidence. You'll learn how to reframe your thoughts about saying no, practice assertiveness in communication, and handle reactions gracefully when others push back. By the end of this chapter, you'll feel equipped to navigate even the most challenging situations with clarity and poise. Let's dive in. 1. Reframing the way you think about no. To build confidence in saying no, you first need to shift your perspective. Many people struggle because they view no as a negative word, a rejection, or a barrier. But in reality, no is a powerful affirmation of your priorities and values. Here's how to reframe your thinking. From guilt to empowerment. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you intentional. When you decline something that doesn't align with your goals, you're creating space for what truly matters. As psychologist Dr. Kristen Neff reminds us, self-compassion is simply giving yourself the same kindness you would give to others. Practicing self-compassion means recognizing that your needs are just as valid as anyone else's. Try this exercise. Every time you hesitate to say no, ask yourself, would I feel guilty if someone else prioritized their well-being in this situation? Chances are you wouldn't judge them harshly, so why judge yourself? From fear to freedom. Fear often holds us back from saying no. We worry about disappointing others or damaging relationships. But consider this: every no is an opportunity to say yes to something better. As author Elizabeth Gilbert puts it, you don't have to live up to everyone else's expectations. You just have to live up to your own. To overcome fear, remind yourself that saying no isn't about shutting people out, it's about inviting deeper connections. When you honor your limits, you model authenticity and encourage others to do the same. From obligation to choice. Too often we say yes out of obligation rather than genuine desire. This leads to resentment and burnout. Instead, frame your decisions as conscious choices. For example, instead of thinking, I have to say no to this request, try, I choose to say no because my energy is better spent elsewhere. As motivational speaker Zig Ziglar once said, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Start small by practicing this mindset shift in low-stakes situations, and watch your confidence grow over time. 2. Practicing assertiveness. Assertiveness is the key to communicating your boundaries effectively. It involves expressing your needs clearly and respectfully without being aggressive or passive. Here's how to develop this essential skill. Using assertive language. The words you choose matter. Assertive language is direct yet respectful, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Here are some examples. Passive. I guess I could help, but I'm not sure. Aggressive. No way. Don't bother asking me again. Assertive. Thank you for considering me, but I'm unable to take this on right now. Notice how the assertive response communicates your decision firmly while maintaining professionalism. Practice crafting similar statements for common scenarios, such as declining work tasks, social invitations, or personal favors. Role-playing scenarios. One of the best ways to build confidence is through role-playing. Enlist a trusted friend or mentor to simulate situations where you might need to say no. For example, a colleague asks you to cover their shift at the last minute. A family member pressures you to attend an event you'd rather skip. Practice responding assertively until it feels natural. Over time, you'll become more comfortable handling these conversations in real life. Nonverbal communication. Your body language plays a crucial role in assertiveness. Maintain eye contact, stand or sit up straight, and use a calm, steady tone of voice. These nonverbal cues reinforce your message and demonstrate confidence. As Amy Cuddy, author of Presence, Bringing Your Boldest Self to Your Biggest Challenges, explains, our bodies change our minds, and our minds can change our behavior. Adopting confident body language not only helps others take you seriously, it also boosts your own self-assurance. 3. Handling reactions gracefully. Not everyone will respond positively when you start setting boundaries. Some may push back, express disappointment, or even attempt to guilt-trip you. Here's how to handle these reactions with grace. Dealing with pushback. When someone questions your decision, resist the urge to justify yourself excessively. Instead, acknowledge their feelings and reaffirm your stance. For example, their reaction, "Are you sure you can't make an exception just this once?" Your response, "I understand this is important to you, but I've made a commitment to prioritize my current responsibilities." By staying calm and composed, you demonstrate respect for both yourself and the other person. Managing guilt trips. Guilt trips are a common tactic used to manipulate people into saying yes. If someone tries this on you, remember, their emotions are not your responsibility. Acknowledge their feelings briefly, then redirect the conversation. For instance, managing guilt trips. Guilt trips are a common tactic used to manipulate people into saying yes. If someone tries this on you, remember, their emotions are not your responsibility. Acknowledge their feelings briefly, then redirect the conversation. For instance, their comment, "If you cared about me, you'd help me with this." Your response, "I care about you deeply, which is why I need to set boundaries that protect my well-being." As Dr. Susan Forward, author of Emotional Blackmail, advises, don't let anyone hold your happiness hostage. Setting boundaries protects your peace of mind. Staying calm during difficult conversations. Tension can arise when discussing boundaries, especially if the other person feels hurt or frustrated. To stay grounded, focus on your breathing and remind yourself of your intentions. Repeat a mantra silently, such as, "I am honoring my truth," to anchor yourself in the moment. As Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, famously wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response." Use this space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. 4. A real-life story that inspires. Let me share a story that illustrates the transformative impact of building confidence to say no. Meet Emily, a young professional who struggled with people-pleasing tendencies. She constantly agreed to extra work assignments, attended events she didn't enjoy, and sacrificed her weekends to help friends move apartments. Despite her efforts, she felt unappreciated and overwhelmed. One day, a close friend challenged her to reflect on her habits. Together, they identified specific areas where Emily needed stronger boundaries. They practiced assertive phrases, rehearsed difficult conversations, and discussed strategies for handling pushback. The turning point came when Emily declined a major project at work. Her manager initially seemed surprised, but after hearing her reasoning, that she wanted to focus on delivering high-quality results for her existing tasks, he respected her decision. Not only did Emily meet her deadlines successfully, but she also earned recognition for her dedication and efficiency. Over time, Emily noticed a profound shift in her relationships. Friends began respecting her time more, colleagues valued her contributions, and she rediscovered her passion for hobbies she had neglected. Most importantly, she felt a renewed sense of control over her life. Emily's journey shows us that confidence grows with practice. Each no builds momentum, empowering you to embrace your authenticity fully. In this chapter, we've explored how to reframe your thoughts about saying no, practice assertiveness in communication, and handle reactions gracefully. Remember, as Eleanor Roosevelt wisely said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." By building confidence to say no, you reclaim your power and create space for what truly enriches your life. As you continue your wisdom journey, keep this thought from Brené Brown in mind. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. Saying no authentically requires courage, but it's a step toward living boldly and purposefully. Chapter 4: Practical Strategies for Saying No. In this chapter, we'll dive into actionable techniques to say no effectively in various scenarios, whether it's at work, in personal relationships, or even with yourself. You'll learn how to decline unreasonable requests professionally, navigate family dynamics compassionately, and avoid self-sabotage by setting internal boundaries. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a toolbox of strategies to confidently handle any situation that requires saying no. Let's begin. 1. Saying no at work. The workplace is often where boundaries are tested the most. Whether it's an unreasonable request from your boss, a colleague asking for help outside their scope, or an overwhelming workload, learning to say no professionally is essential for maintaining balance and protecting your career. Here's how to do it effectively. How to decline unreasonable requests from colleagues or bosses. Saying no at work doesn't mean being uncooperative. It means prioritizing tasks that align with your role and responsibilities. The key is to communicate clearly while maintaining professionalism. Step 1. Acknowledge the request. Start by showing appreciation for the opportunity. For example, "Thank you for thinking of me for this project. I appreciate the trust you're placing in me." Step 2. Explain your current priorities. Provide context for why you're unable to take on additional tasks. Be specific about your current workload. "At the moment, I'm focused on completing specific task or project, which has a tight deadline. Taking on additional responsibilities might compromise the quality of both assignments." Step 3. Offer alternatives, if possible. If appropriate, suggest alternatives to show you're still willing to contribute. "I'd be happy to review the materials once my current tasks are complete, or perhaps someone else on the team could assist in the meantime." As leadership expert Simon Sinek says, "A leader's job is not to do the work for others, but to help them figure out how to do it themselves." By declining thoughtfully, you encourage collaboration and mutual respect. Tips for setting professional boundaries without jeopardizing your career. While it's important to say no, it's equally crucial to ensure your actions don't harm your professional reputation. Here are some tips. Be consistent. Don't say yes one day and no the next without reason. Consistency builds trust. Stay positive. Frame your response in a way that emphasizes your commitment to high-quality work. Know your limits. Understand what you can realistically handle before agreeing to anything. Remember, as author and entrepreneur Tim Ferriss advises, focus on being productive instead of busy. Saying no allows you to focus on what truly matters, delivering exceptional results. 2. Saying no in personal relationships. Navigating family dynamics and social pressures can be emotionally challenging, especially when loved ones have expectations that conflict with your boundaries. Here's how to say no compassionately while preserving relationships. Navigating family dynamics and social pressures. Family members often expect us to prioritize their needs over our own. While supporting loved ones is important, it shouldn't come at the expense of your well-being. With extended family. If a relative asks for something you're uncomfortable with, such as attending every family gathering, be honest but gentle. "I really value our time together, but I need to take care of myself right now. Let's plan something smaller that works for both of us." With friends, social invitations can sometimes feel obligatory. Instead of making excuses, express gratitude and set clear limits. "Thank you so much for inviting me. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it this time, but I'd love to catch up soon." As Maya Angelou wisely said, "People will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel." Even when declining, kindness goes a long way. Communicating boundaries with loved ones compassionately. When setting boundaries with those closest to you, empathy is key. Use "I" statements to avoid sounding accusatory. Instead of saying, "You always expect too much from me," try, "I need some time to recharge, so I won't be able to help with everything." It's also helpful to explain the benefits of your boundaries, not just for you, but for the relationship itself. For example, When I take care of myself, I'm better able to show up fully for you. As relationship expert Esther Perel notes, boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. Healthy boundaries strengthen connections rather than weaken them. 3. Saying no to yourself. Sometimes, the hardest person to say no to is yourself. We all have moments when we sabotage our own goals by giving in to distractions, procrastination, or instant gratification. Here's how to set internal boundaries and stay aligned with your long-term vision. Avoiding self-sabotage by setting internal boundaries. Internal boundaries involve managing your thoughts, habits, and behaviors to support your goals. Common examples include limiting screen time, avoiding unnecessary spending, or resisting the urge to multitask. To establish these boundaries, identify triggers. What situations tempt you to stray from your priorities? Is it social media, late-night snacking, or perfectionism? Create rules for yourself. Set clear guidelines, such as no phone usage during meals or only checking emails twice a day. Reward progress. Celebrate small wins along the way to reinforce positive behavior. As motivational speaker Jim Rohn famously said, "You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, but you can change yourself." Taking control of your internal dialogue empowers you to live intentionally. Prioritizing long-term goals over short-term gratification. Delayed gratification is a hallmark of success. When faced with tempting distractions, remind yourself of your bigger picture. Ask yourself, will this activity bring me closer to my goals? How will I feel tomorrow if I give in today? For instance, if you're tempted to binge-watch TV instead of working on a passion project, visualize the sense of accomplishment you'll feel after completing a meaningful task. As author James Clear explains in Atomic Habits, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Each time you say no to distractions, you're casting a vote for your future self. 4. Handling specific scenarios with confidence. Now that we've covered general strategies for saying no at work, in personal relationships, and to yourself, let's explore specific scenarios where boundaries are often tested. These situations require tailored approaches to ensure your message is received clearly and respectfully. Saying no to unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice can feel intrusive, especially when it comes from well-meaning friends or family members. Here's how to handle it gracefully. Acknowledge their intentions. Start by thanking them for their concern. I appreciate you wanting to help me. Set the boundary firmly but kindly. Politely let them know you're comfortable making your own decisions. I've thought this through carefully, and I'm confident in my approach. Redirect the conversation. Shift the focus back to something positive. Let's talk about something else. I'd love to hear how your weekend went. As author Rachel Hollis reminds us, you get to decide what advice to take and what to leave behind. Trust your instincts and prioritize your autonomy. Saying no to peer pressure. Whether it's a social event, a risky activity, or an impulsive purchase, peer pressure can be difficult to resist. Here's how to stand firm. Stay calm and confident. Avoid over-explaining or apologizing excessively. A simple, "Thanks, but I'm good," is often enough. Use humor if appropriate. Lighten the mood with a joke. "I'll pass this time. I'm saving my energy for karaoke night." Lean on your values. Remind yourself why you're saying no. For example, "This isn't aligned with my goals right now." Remember, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway." Staying true to yourself is always worth it. Saying no to emotional manipulation. Some people may use guilt, pity, or anger to coerce you into saying yes. In these cases, maintaining your boundaries is crucial for protecting your emotional health. Recognize the tactics. Identify manipulative phrases like, "If you cared about me, you'd do this." Respond assertively. Refuse to engage in emotional bargaining. "I care about you deeply, which is why I need to set these boundaries." End the conversation if necessary. If the other person continues to push, excuse yourself calmly. "I need some time to think about this." Let's revisit it later. As Dr. Susan Ford emphasizes in Emotional Blackmail, don't let anyone hold your happiness hostage. Standing firm against manipulation reinforces your self-respect. 5. Adapting your approach based on context. The way you say no should adapt to the context of the situation. Factors such as the relationship, setting, and urgency all influence how you communicate your boundaries. Formal versus informal settings. In formal settings, such as the workplace, you'll want to be more structured and professional. Use clear language and provide rationale when necessary. For example, "Thank you for considering me for this opportunity, but I won't be able to participate due to prior commitments." In informal settings, like among friends or family, you can be warmer and more conversational. "That sounds fun, but I'm going to sit this one out. Let's plan something soon." Immediate versus delayed responses. Sometimes, you may not have time to think before responding. In urgent situations, keep your answer brief and polite. "I'm sorry, but I can't commit to that right now." If possible, delay your response to give yourself time to reflect. "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." Cultural considerations. Cultural norms around saying no vary widely. In some cultures, direct refusals are considered rude, so you might need to soften your language. For instance, instead of saying, "No, I can't. Try. That's a bit challenging for me right now." Understanding cultural nuances ensures your message is received without causing offense. 6. A real-life story that inspires. Let me share another inspiring story that demonstrates the power of practical strategies for saying no. Meet David, a high school teacher who struggled with balancing his workload and personal life. He frequently agreed to extra responsibilities, coaching sports teams, organizing events, and tutoring students after hours. While he enjoyed helping others, he eventually found himself exhausted and disconnected from his family. One day, David decided to implement the strategies he had learned about saying no. When asked to coach yet another team, he responded assertively, "I truly appreciate the opportunity, but I need to focus on spending quality time with my family. Perhaps someone else would enjoy taking this on." To his surprise, the administration respected his decision and found another volunteer. Over time, David noticed significant improvements in his well-being. He rediscovered his passion for teaching, reconnected with his loved ones, and even started pursuing hobbies he had abandoned years ago. David's experience teaches us that saying no isn't just about protecting your time, it's about creating space for joy, fulfillment, and meaningful connections. Remember, as author and Lamont wisely said, "No is a complete sentence." You don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your peace and happiness. Each time you say no, you're affirming your values and creating room for what truly matters. As you continue your wisdom journey, carry these strategies with you. They'll serve as tools to navigate even the most complex situations with clarity and grace. Chapter 5: Maintaining Healthy Boundaries. In this chapter, we'll explore how to sustain your boundaries over time and handle challenges that arise. You'll learn why consistency is key, how to address boundary violations effectively, and the importance of celebrating progress along the way. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a clear roadmap for maintaining healthy boundaries and ensuring they serve you in the long run. Let's begin. 1. Consistency is key. Setting boundaries is just the first step. Maintaining them requires ongoing effort and commitment. Consistency ensures that others respect your limits and reinforces your own sense of self-worth. Here's how to stay consistent. The importance of reinforcing your boundaries regularly. Boundaries are like muscles. They need regular exercise to stay strong. If you let them slide, others may assume it's okay to cross them again. For example, if you've set a boundary about not working late but occasionally make exceptions, colleagues might start expecting flexibility. To reinforce your boundaries, remind yourself why they matter. Reflect on the benefits of your boundaries, whether it's protecting your energy, improving relationships, or achieving your goals. Communicate clearly when necessary. If someone forgets or ignores your boundaries, gently remind them. I've mentioned before that I'm unavailable after hours. Thank you for understanding. As author and motivational speaker Zig Ziglar said, success is neither magical nor mysterious. It's the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. The same applies to boundaries. Small, consistent actions lead to lasting results. Addressing slip ups without losing momentum. No one is perfect. There will be times when you accidentally compromise your boundaries due to stress, guilt, or external pressure. Instead of beating yourself up, treat slip-ups as learning opportunities. Acknowledge the mistake. Recognize what happened and why. For example, I agreed to that request because I felt pressured, but I realized now it wasn't aligned with my priorities. Reaffirm your commitment. Take immediate steps to reestablish your boundary. Next time, I'll communicate my limits more clearly. Forgive yourself. Progress isn't linear. Every step forward counts, even if there are occasional setbacks. As Brené Brown reminds us, perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system. Focus on growth rather than perfection. 2. Dealing with boundary violations. Despite your best efforts, there may be times when others repeatedly ignore or challenge your boundaries. Handling these situations requires firmness, patience, and sometimes escalation. Recognizing red flags. Not all boundary violations are intentional, but some behaviors should raise alarms. Watch for patterns such as persistent disregard for your stated limits, attempts to guilt trip or manipulate you into giving in, escalating demands despite repeated refusals. These red flags indicate that the other person may not respect your autonomy. Addressing them early prevents further issues. Taking action when boundaries are repeatedly ignored. If someone continues to violate your boundaries, it's time to take decisive action. Here's how. Step 1. Have a direct conversation. Calmly but firmly express your concerns. I've noticed that my requests aren't being respected. This is important to me, and I need us to find a solution. Step 2. Set clear consequences. If the behavior persists, outline specific consequences. If this continues, I'll need to limit our interactions until we can resolve this issue. Step 3. Follow through. Actions speak louder than words. Enforce your consequences if necessary to demonstrate that your boundaries are non-negotiable. As Dr. Henry Cloud, co-author of Boundaries, explains, boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. Protecting your boundaries safeguards your identity and well-being. Escalating responses gracefully. Sometimes, addressing boundary violations requires escalating responses. For instance, in professional settings, you might need to involve HR or seek mediation. In personal relationships, distancing yourself temporarily, or permanently, may be necessary. Remember, as Maya Angelou famously said, never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. Prioritize relationships that honor your boundaries and distance yourself from those that don't. 3. Celebrating progress. Maintaining boundaries isn't just about addressing challenges. It's also about acknowledging your growth and celebrating milestones along the way. Recognizing small wins reinforces positive behavior and motivates you to keep going. Acknowledging small wins along the way. Every time you successfully enforce a boundary, take a moment to celebrate. Whether it's declining an extra task at work, saying no to a social obligation, or setting limits with loved ones, these moments are victories worth recognizing. Reflect on your achievements. Write down instances where you stood firm in your boundaries. For example, this week, I said no to an unnecessary meeting and focused on my priorities instead. Track your growth. Keep a journal of how your confidence and communication skills have improved over time. As author James Clear notes in Atomic Habits, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Each small win contributes to lasting change. Rewarding yourself for sticking to your boundaries. Positive reinforcement strengthens your commitment to maintaining boundaries. Reward yourself for staying consistent, for instance. Treat yourself to a favorite meal after a tough conversation. Spend time doing something you love as a reward for prioritizing your well-being. As Tony Robbins wisely said, "The only impossible journey is the one you never begin." By rewarding yourself, you remind yourself that the journey toward healthier boundaries is worth every step. 4. A real-life story that inspires. Let me share another inspiring story that highlights the importance of maintaining healthy boundaries over time. Meet Maria, a single mother who struggled to balance her career, parenting responsibilities, and personal life. She often found herself overwhelmed, constantly saying yes to everyone else's needs while neglecting her own. After attending a workshop on boundary setting, she decided to make a change. Maria started small, setting a boundary about not working late nights so she could spend quality time with her children. At first, her colleagues questioned her decision, but she remained consistent. Over time, they began respecting her limits. To maintain her boundaries, Maria regularly reminded herself why they mattered. When her ex-partner occasionally disregarded her parenting schedule, she addressed it directly without hesitation. Though it wasn't easy, Maria stayed firm, knowing her boundaries were essential for her family's well-being. Today, Maria feels more fulfilled than ever. Her children thrive under her care, her relationships are stronger, and she's rediscovered passions she hadn't pursued in years. Most importantly, she's proud of herself for sticking to her boundaries despite challenges. Maria's story reminds us that maintaining boundaries requires persistence, but the rewards are immeasurable. In this chapter, we've explored the importance of consistency, strategies for dealing with boundary violations, and the value of celebrating progress. Remember, as Dr. Brené Brown says, daring greatly means the courage to be vulnerable. It means showing up and being seen when we have no control over the outcome. Maintaining boundaries takes courage, but it's a powerful act of self-love and empowerment. As you continue your wisdom journey, keep reinforcing your boundaries, addressing challenges head-on, and celebrating your achievements. These efforts will ensure that your boundaries remain strong and serve you in the long run. Now that you've learned how to maintain healthy boundaries, let's move on to Chapter 6, where we'll explore transformative stories and real-life examples from individuals who have mastered the art of saying no. Stay tuned, you're almost at the finish line of this transformative journey. Chapter 6. Transformative Stories and Real-Life Examples. In this final chapter, we'll explore inspiring stories of individuals who transformed their lives by mastering the art of saying no. These real-life examples will reinforce the lessons you've learned throughout this audiobook and provide practical insights you can apply to your own journey. By the end of this chapter, you'll feel inspired and equipped to embrace boundary setting as a lifelong practice. Let's dive in. 1. Case Study 1. A burnt-out professional finds balance. Meet Alex, a marketing executive whose relentless pursuit of success led to chronic burnout. For years, Alex prided himself on being the first to arrive at the office and the last to leave. He said yes to every project, meeting, and request, believing it was the only way to prove his worth. But over time, the constant pressure began to take its toll. Alex felt perpetually exhausted, irritable, and disconnected from his family. One day, after collapsing from exhaustion during a work trip, he realized something had to change. With the help of a coach, Alex began setting clear boundaries. At work, he stopped attending unnecessary meetings and delegated tasks more effectively. At home, he carved out dedicated family time, turning off his phone during meals and weekends. For himself, he prioritized self-care, scheduling regular exercise and hobbies he had abandoned years ago. The transformation was remarkable. Not only did Alex regain his energy and focus, but he also earned a promotion for delivering higher quality work within realistic timelines. His colleagues respected his new approach, and his relationships with loved ones deepened. Alex's story teaches us that saying no isn't about limiting opportunities, it's about creating space for what truly matters. As author Greg McKeown writes in Essentialism, "If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will." By setting boundaries, Alex reclaimed control over his priorities and rediscovered joy in both his personal and professional life. 2. Case Study 2. A parent overwhelmed by responsibilities learns to say no. Next, let's meet Rachel, a stay-at-home mom juggling parenting duties, volunteer work, and household responsibilities. Despite her best efforts, Rachel constantly felt overwhelmed and guilty for not doing enough. She agreed to bake cookies for school fundraisers, organize community events, and host holiday gatherings, all while neglecting her own needs. One day, Rachel hit a breaking point. After snapping at her children over a minor issue, she realized her stress was affecting her family. Determined to make a change, she sought advice from a support group for parents. Here's what Rachel implemented. Setting limits with family, she communicated her need for downtime, asking her spouse to share household chores and childcare responsibilities. Declining non-essential commitments, Rachel politely turned down requests that didn't align with her priorities, such as organizing events or taking on extra volunteer roles. Prioritizing self-care, she started practicing mindfulness meditation and joined a book club to reconnect with her passions. The results were transformative. Rachel became calmer, more present, and better able to enjoy her time with her family. Her children noticed the difference too, commenting on how much happier she seemed. Rachel's journey reminds us that saying no isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining balance and nurturing meaningful connections. As Dr. Shefali Saboui, author of The Conscious Parent, says, "When we honor ourselves, we teach our children to honor themselves too." By modeling healthy boundaries, Rachel created a ripple effect of positivity in her family. 3. Key takeaways from these stories. These case studies illustrate the profound impact of mastering the art of saying no. Here are some actionable lessons you can apply to your own life. Start small. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Begin with one area where you feel overwhelmed and set a simple boundary. For example, if you're struggling with work-life balance, try leaving the office on time once a week. Communicate clearly, whether it's with colleagues, friends, or family. Clear communication is key. Use assertive language to express your needs without apology. Be consistent. Boundaries lose their power if they're inconsistently enforced. Stick to your limits, even when it feels uncomfortable. Celebrate progress. Acknowledge every step forward, no matter how small. Each victory reinforces your commitment to healthier boundaries. As Maya Angelou wisely said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." These stories remind us that growth is a process, one that requires patience, persistence, and self-compassion. Audiobook conclusion. As we come to the end of The Art of Saying No, how to say no with confidence and focus on yourself, let's take a moment to recap the key lessons you've learned on this transformative journey. Understanding the power of no. Saying no isn't selfish, it's an act of self-care and empowerment. It protects your time, energy, and well-being while creating space for what truly matters. Identifying your boundaries. You've explored the different types of boundaries: emotional, physical, time-based, and digital, and learned how to assess where you're overextending yourself. Building confidence to say no, through mindset shifts, assertiveness training, and handling reactions gracefully, you've gained the tools to say no with clarity and poise. Practical strategies for saying no, from navigating workplace dynamics to setting limits in personal relationships and with yourself, you now have actionable techniques to handle any situation. Maintaining healthy boundaries, consistency, addressing violations, and celebrating progress are essential for sustaining your boundaries over time. Inspiring stories, real-life examples from Alex, Rachel, and others remind us that mastering the art of saying no leads to profound personal and professional growth. These lessons form the foundation of your boundary-setting practice, a skill that will serve you for a lifetime. Now that you've absorbed these insights, it's time to take action. Remember, knowledge alone isn't enough. Growth comes from application. Start small. Perhaps today, you'll decline an unnecessary task at work or set a boundary with a loved one. Each step forward brings you closer to living authentically and purposefully. Stay committed to your journey, even when it feels challenging. As motivational speaker Les Brown once said, "Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears." Let go of the fear of rejection, guilt, or conflict. Trust that saying no is a gift to yourself and to those around you. Imagine the possibilities. more time for your passions, deeper connections with loved ones, and a renewed sense of peace and fulfillment. These aren't just aspirations, they're outcomes within your reach if you embrace the art of saying no. So, I encourage you to keep practicing, keep growing, and never underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. You have everything you need to transform your life, one no at a time. Before we part ways, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for joining me on this wisdom journey. Your decision to invest your time and energy into learning about boundary setting shows courage and commitment to personal growth. If you found value in this audiobook, please consider supporting Wisdom Audiobooks by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that empowers and inspires. And if you have feedback or suggestions, don't hesitate to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey toward greater authenticity, balance, and happiness. Remember, your wisdom journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning. Until next time, stay bold, stay true, and keep embracing the art of saying no.